What do you think the future's like for tech industry in Canada?
Well, the future, I think, from a long-term perspective, is extremely bright. 20 years ago, and I said this, and it still holds. This is the future of our country. It is not in resource extraction. It is not in manufacturing. A lot of the things that we did in the post-World War II industrial period. It is about innovation. It doesn't mean you have to be a technology company. So either you're building the technologies and selling them, or the other 90% of the economy, you're buying those technologies and embedding in your business to make your businesses bigger, faster, better, with greater customer insights. And in some respect, the whole notion of being a technology company will be greatly blurred, because in some respect, or in fact, it's part of our investment thesis, every company will have to be a technology company in some form. You're either producing it or you're utilizing it and creating your own moat. And if you're not, you will be out of business. And I think right now, particularly past the pandemic, it really accelerated that transition of the enabling technologies.
It's great to see you starting Maverix with the intention of actually building the tech industry in Canada to be a global industry,
yes,
rather than localized or a farm team for the U.S.
Yes, right. And and that is actually my big bugaboo. When folks get very excited to say, oh my God, look, a foreign-based company, usually U.S., is coming here. First thing they say is they were coming here to create jobs. Well, that is a bunch of malarkey. There is no company creating jobs in the innovation sector. There's a desperate need for more people, so those folks will be hired no matter what. So I welcome foreign-based companies coming here. What I don't welcome is government policy that entices foreign competition, where they already have an economic advantage to pay people more, and then we hand them our taxpayer dollars to compete against Canadian-based companies that are still trying to grow, and puts them on an uneven playing field. That's where I point out on government policy to knock it off completely, because that is a old industrial policy that has to go out the window.
Right, and it did work in the manufacturing sector.
It did, yes. It absolutely worked fine there, and I would support that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work in the innovation sector, and the thing that frustrates me from a public policy perspective is we keep on drawing from the same tool shed. That tool shed is gone, and it's now a digital tool shed, and your policy, your public policy frameworks are flipped on its head, and government hasn't caught up to understand the value of intellectual property, data, how markets are created in the digital world, regulatory frameworks, all very, very different and complicated and moving extremely fast. However, it's incumbent for us to help public policy folks in government to really understand that.